AITA for blowing up on my husband's friend after her wife died? My 36F husband Ian, 44M, is close friends with a woman named Jenna. They've been friends for a long time, before Ian and I got together, so I know her fairly well too, but we really have nothing in common and we're not exactly friends. Jenna's wife Laura very sadly and somewhat suddenly passed in early March. She was terminally ill but responding to treatment very well and was expected to survive another 2 to 5 years. She's been leaning on Ian heavily for support, which I understand, but she's been at our house every single day since and even sleeping in our guest room most nights because she doesn't want to be home alone. Which would be okay, except she is getting more and more passive-aggressive towards me and weirdly territorial of Ian. I've reminded myself that I don't think I could stand to see a happy couple for months if I lost Ian, and to be patient, it's not personal. My birthday was on Sunday. I got home Saturday after a morning out and Jenna was there. I was making small talk when I asked Ian what time he made dinner reservations for the next day. Jenna inserted herself right here and asked Ian if he was going to be out the next day, and he said yes. She started panicking and saying that he couldn't and she wasn't ready to spend an evening alone. I was going to tell her that she could still hang out here while we gone, and she looked at me and said, "Don't you have any friends you can go with?" And I just blew up. "Don't you have any other friends you can go bother?" and so on. She called me selfish for monopolizing my husband, and I had enough and told her to get the hell out of my house and not to come back, ever. Ian had been trying to calm things down between us, but it spiraled out of control fast, and he ended up escorting Jenna out and telling her that he'd come visit her in a few days, but he would be backing my decision because of how she spoke to me. I was happy for his support and still am, but it's been a few days and I just feel bad all around about it. I should have been more understanding of her, but I also feel like she should treat me more respectfully, and I'm not really sure if I overreacted.
NTA. She was so far out of line, and especially in your own home. ID. Also sit down with your husband and talk about it. To me personally, it really seems like she likes your husband more than just a good friend. I understand she had a wife, but maybe she's bi and hasn't been open with it?
Story 2. AITA for not forgiving my MIL after she gave away my late mother's heirloom to a stranger? I, 30F, am known in my family for my patience and generosity. I've always gone out of my way to help others, and I take pride in being a good person. My husband, 32M, and I have a beautiful relationship built on mutual respect and understanding. My late mother left me a precious heirloom, a vintage necklace that has been in our family for generations. It's not just valuable, but it holds immense sentimental value to me. I've always kept it safe and only wore it on special occasions, cherishing the memories it holds. Enter my MIL, 57F, who has a history of overstepping boundaries. Despite our differences, when she lost her apartment, my husband and I opened our home to her, asking for nothing in return but basic respect for our belongings. One day, I came home to find my MIL hosting a tea party with her friends, and to my horror, one of her friends was wearing my mother's necklace. When I confronted her, my MIL nonchalantly said she gave it away because she thought it was just old jewelry and that her friend admired it. I was heartbroken and felt utterly betrayed. My husband was equally appalled and supported my decision to ask her to leave. Now, the rest of the family is painting me as the villain, saying I'm overreacting and should forgive her because family is family. So, AITA for not being able to forgive this breach of trust?
Did you get the necklace back? Also, she robbed you, NTA?
Yeah, I got it back after explaining the situation to the MIL friend, but my MIL thinks I made her look extremely foolish and idiotic. Story 3. AITA for describing my mom's second marriage and her younger kids as her do-over family? I, 17F, lost my dad when I was 5. My parents were married, but I remember Dad being more present in my early memories than Mom, and when my dad died, I know my mom wasn't there for me. She left me to raise myself, or she roped in some extended family to take care of me, usually grandparents. But she wouldn't always do that, and I was sort of forced to become independent and more mature in some ways to raise myself. Like I had to make sure I ate, did homework, got to school on time all without my mom helping me. The most she'd do is make some food, but she wouldn't even tell me she had. I usually had to search the fridge to find it. My grandparents were the ones who celebrated my birthdays with me, and they were the ones who typically went to my school for parent conferences. My mom doesn't know me. She couldn't tell you what classes I take in high school, what my favorite food or color is, who my friends and best friends are, nothing. 5 years ago she met her husband Sam, and pretty quickly, like before they were living together, my mom got pregnant. So Sam moved in and my mom married him. Her was born 4 years ago and her son followed along 2 years ago. And right away I see the difference in how my mom is with them. She knows them, she loves them, she dedicates time to them, she advocates for them. All the things I do not remember her ever doing for me. She eats with them and plays with them, and she takes her daughter to preschool every day and takes her for a treat after. It sucks to see. I didn't get a good mom, but I see she had her in it to be a good mom and chose not to be. Sam isn't as good as my dad was though. But he's still better than my mom ever was to me. Last week my mom asked me to babysit for her and Sam, and I said no. My mom was shocked and asked me why I wouldn't babysit. I told her I had work and I had plans with friends. She told me she would have expected me to want time with the kids. I told her I don't want time with her do-over family. She asked me what that meant, and I said Sam and the kids are her do-over family. She is a better mom to her younger kids, and she and Sam have created their own perfect little family with them and their kids. But she was never that for me. I told her I have zero interest in helping her out with the do-over family, and I pointed out that it was the most she had said to me in years, because she normally doesn't talk to me or include me in anything, and the only reason she was speaking to me is she wanted something. She was all, "How dare you say that about Sam and the kids," and she told me I had an awful attitude and she hopes the kids never pick up on how I feel about them and their dad. She told me they deserve better than being described that way, and she told me I had some nerve to be jealous that her kids have a happy family life. I laughed and told her she only cared about them, and that was clear. She called me a nasty little bee. Ita?
No. In TA, you are right, and we're blunt about it. Your mom didn't want to hear your truth. It sounds like you have your head screwed on right, but I would start making plans for when you can get out of there. College is amazing. You can find your own chosen family.
Story 4. AITA for making my mom leave my house after calling my daughter unladylike? I, 40F, have a daughter, 13F, who isn't exactly a tomboy, but does boy activities. I'm saying boy activities for the sake of this post. And my mom, 63F, is pretty old-fashioned. My daughter isn't doing a sport right now, but she did a winter sport and a fall sport. Whenever my mom saw her coming back from basketball all sweaty and stuff, she would scrunch her face. She would tell me her being sweaty and nasty isn't a good image, but she wasn't saying that to my daughter, according to her and my daughter, so I didn't make too much of it. On Saturday, my husband, daughter, son and I went to a semi-formal Sweet 16. My daughter wore a really nice green dress, but my mom's issue? My daughter doesn't wear makeup, so she wasn't wearing any. Upon noticing, she said, "Missy, you are very unladylike," and before she could sit down, I told her to get on her phone and call someone because she sure as hell wasn't staying here after saying that. My brother came and picked her up. Now I wonder whether I overreacted because my daughter didn't even seem to care and thinking I should have let this slide. Ita?
NTA, you are right to shut her down. I am 61, and I remember how oppressive ladylike was as a kid. My brothers were never told to be gentlemen. That would never happen unless they were harassing a girl, but my behavior would have been curtailed in very many ways if I only allowed myself to be ladylike. It was wrong in 1969, and it's very wrong now. And in 1969, a 13 years old wearing makeup, except maybe nail polish, would have been frowned upon. Your mom is inventing her own standards of womanhood that have never been normal. Keep her away from your daughter. Though truth be known, Even in the 60s when ladylike was pretty accepted amongst the generation older than my parents, I happily ignored it and carved my own path. Your daughter probably will too, but it's better to be safe.